So hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to this Pacvue Europe Fireside Chat. Today I'm joined by Megan Shope, who is a account manager at Bizon Solutions. Super excited to have Megan join us today and chat through some of the exciting stuff that we're seeing in the European advertising market. My name is Dylan Wingrove. I'm the field marketing manager here at Pacvue. And Pacvue is a commerce acceleration suite that works closely with brands and agencies all throughout the world to help them really optimize and grow across retailers and marketplaces. We work with the likes of Amazon, Bol.com, and other major retailers through our partnerships with Criteo and Citrus Ads. And today I'm joined by Megan Shope. As I said, she's one of the amazing account directors at Bizon Solutions, who we work really closely with. Megan, great to have you with us. Do you maybe want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and Bizon as an agency?
Yeah, for sure. So first, thanks for the invite. It's always nice to be part of events like this and chats with Pacvue that we definitely work very closely with. So what do we do at Bizon? Well, first of all, we're an agency that manage brands and grow brands on Amazon. So any brands from the small French brand to multinational brands. We're based out of France, but operate in the entire world. And we do very much everything Amazon related, from strategy to account management to brand content creation, and obviously advertising.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to have you join us, and I think it's so good to have a French partner who's working in the space on a day-to-day basis and really seeing the challenges that we're facing here in Europe. And I think there's 2023 is quite a unique set of circumstances that we're facing. There's a lot of sort of consumer worry about inflation, about how things are trending. We're seeing that in how consumers are spending their money and where they're choosing to spend their money on. And I'm sure it's the same in the advertising space. You're working with brands on a day-to-day basis, and they're looking at the set of challenges and wondering, where do they put their focus and their budget behind for the year going ahead. Pacvue recently launched our 2023 Amazon Ads Guide for Europe, and we've really been trying to chat with our agency partners and just get a little bit of insight from them. We have a particular view as a technology company, but what are you guys seeing in the market? What are sort of some of those trends that you're seeing and some of the challenges really that brands are facing in 2023?
So I think that when we ask ourselves what are the challenges in the e-commerce scene, on the e-commerce scene in Europe, I think it's more a matter of resources and organization. And because, still a couple years back, we were kind of asking ourselves the question, on should we go on Amazon or not? Should we spend on advertising? I think that today the question has really switched to more of how do I optimize my presence considering my organization. So I think there are several ways to explore the topic. First, on one side, it'll be more of a human resources aspect, and on the other side it's more a matter of what tool do I use to be more to unleash the full potential of a brand. So to come back on that first aspect of human resources, there are definitely different ways to tackle the challenge. First is to ask yourself, do I hire people? Or do I choose to hire an agency and get help from experts whose job it is to actually boost brands on the e-commerce scene? Or do I choose to get support in order to train my own team in order to ride solo? So I think yeah, recruiting is definitely a huge challenge right now, even for agencies, just to be honest, because it's complex. Retail media jobs are a new thing, and I believe, I mean, we believe at Bizon that the easiest way to do so is actually to train your own team. Because it's such a new sets of skills that we are building. So, I mean, seriously, like the easiest way to go through that is really just to train in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially with, tools coming onto the market like Pacvue, we try and do a lot for our agency partners and the commerce teams that we work with to really support them in understanding the retail media landscape, but then also what they can do with the tool, and then trying to find ways to automate as much as possible. I think when you do have that gap in your team, it's really important to find those opportunities to save time, whether that's with ticketing automation or just with having all the reporting in one place. And I think that's where the technology really comes into your overall strategy. And I think it's a big part of things that teams have to think about. And obviously you're contending with budget. You may not have a bigger budget as you do in maybe the North American market or in other parts of the world. But how can you go and implement a strategy and then try and scale it across really 6 or 8 different markets, depending on where you are in Europe.
I think that that's a very important point that you just raised. Europe is a whole bunch of like different countries, and I think it's really important to have an advertising strategy that is very specific to each market, as like every consumers on each market like act differently, and it would be just as on from a content perspective kind of like stupid to address each market the same way.
Yeah, I completely agree, and each market responds really differently, to different products and within different categories, and that's so unique. And I think that's where having all the data in one place is quite interesting, where you can see those how different the keywords respond to in different markets and also on different retailers.
For sure.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges in the space. Ad spend is going up. Amazon fees, I think, were just announced recently that those are also increasing for certain areas of their business. So there are a lot of challenges that e-com teams face, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think there's still a large opportunity in the space and so many different avenues to advertise on. What are you most excited about at Bizon? What is the in this space? What areas are you looking at and thinking there's a really big opportunity to go and scale in that area?
Well, I think like in terms of opportunities, we're really optimistic. I mean, if we look at the European market, it's definitely less mature than it is in the US or in Asia. So if we look at the trends overseas and strongly believe that these are also going to happen in Europe, then I think we definitely got a bright future ahead of us. And on top of that, I mean, like advertisers in Europe are spending more and more. So, I mean, with more and more spending coming on and more advertising joining the party, there's definitely this excitement that is building around how do you really think your strategy, how do you optimize it, and how do you make most out of all the automation that you can generate with the AI tools around that. So, I mean, really optimistic about that, and I mean, it's a growing market. So for us, it's really just exciting to be riding that specific wave.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the space, and as I said, so many different markets and different segments to go and test on. I want to circle back to a point that you made earlier about team structure and the human resource side of things. And an important question that comes up quite often is, how should you structure your team so that you do have this availability of data, and that you break down these data silos that do exist potentially between, logistics and advertising, sales and advertising. And I think as you're, scaling teams in these markets that were quite small and are now becoming more mature, that becomes an important aspect. Is that something that you're thinking of and you're working with your teams to solve for?
For sure. So there's something we've noticed is that it's oftentimes either CEO, sales team, or marketing teams that reach out to us, and usually they don't communicate that well between each other. So we're kind of like bridging all the silos within companies to really make the information as available as possible. And I mean, the way we do it is just that you got to communicate. And I mean, we got more and more AI tools and data entry points. The thing is that, yes, it helps in terms of optimization, automation. Everything goes way faster, but human intelligence is still necessary to power all of these. To make the most out of AI, I'd say. And I mean, just let's be realistic. Again, I think like communication is key to drive business, because this way all the teams are aligned. So to loop back to your point of how do you structure teams around such challenges, is really just to first have a clear view of where you want to go as a brand, and not necessarily focus on on ROAS, for example, but to really adopt your own strategy in terms of like your own structure. So yes, there'll be a matter of how you want to grow your team as a brand, or how do you want to externalize part of it. For me, it's just a matter of finding the right direction, and then kind of doing a bit of Lego to have the best assets possible in terms, and then to execute your strategy type thing.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think there's obviously a lot of tech that's out in the space, and changing and improving every day. But I think you're really right that just communication is so critical between the teams. But I would just caveat and say that it's only possible if you have the data available. And
for sure,
if everyone has the access to the same data, everyone is looking at that data as close to real time as possible. And that can really inform the strategy, whichever direction you're going to go. Sorry, go ahead.
We love to say that without data, there's no conversation.
I like that. Yeah, that's so true. And I think there's nowadays we almost have the other problem, which is there's too much data, and how can you sort of cancel out the noise and just focus on particular areas, but still have that complete holistic view of sales, logistics, marketing, kind of all working together to go after the same strategy. But completely agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the thing is, if you know what your goals are, then you tend to look at the most relevant data. Otherwise, I mean, you can kind of go all over the place and kind of be overwhelmed with what is now available.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's going to be really important going forward. As you start to scale your teams, you're not just looking at data for the sake of it, but you really have those goals in mind, and you allow that to structure your whole sort of strategy.
For sure.
I think we've spoken a lot about just sort of data and retail media in general, and obviously a big part of it in Europe, which you can't forget about, or it has to be part of the conversation, is Amazon.
Right.
There's some smaller marketplaces that are certainly growing. We're seeing a lot of traction in Bol.com, which is a really exciting new marketplace, and I think they're excited to see what happens with them in the next couple of years. Some of the retailers are launching their own retail media strategy or own retail media networks, which is really exciting to see. And I think that's going to be an interesting trend to follow. But Amazon is still probably 80% of most advertising budgets.
I mean, yeah.
More. And
Amazon is definitely driving the European market. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what strategies or tips do you have to sort of give brands or agencies as they're thinking about Amazon for the rest of 2023? What should they be focusing on? What should they be getting excited about?
Yeah. So I think like one thing we mentioned a bit earlier is really to combine tools such as Pacvue and really like don't forget to power it with human brain. Just like we said, filter the data that is available and let the tools do the automation in order to build up that conversation and build up more complex and more targeted advertising strategies. So that would be like the first thing. The second tip that we'd go for, I'd say it's probably to build your own strategy and not to try to just focus on the bottom of the marketing funnel with conversions, but not to forget that there's also all that awareness scale to think of and to integrate within your strategy. I think like too often brands focus on the bottom of the funnel and really miss out on that upper part. And I mean, missing out on that upper part means that you're missing out on reaching new consumers and kind of like build brand awareness around your brand. So I'd say that yes, it's good to have a defensive strategy with really like focusing on the bottom of the funnel, but without adopting a more offensive strategy, you won't grow sales. So it's not, for us, it's not a way to really unleash a brand's full potential to just be defensive. So
completely agree. And I think with having access to AMC data that we provide through Pacvue is huge. Being able to link that with your Amazon marketing stream data to see a complete sort of view of the whole end-to-end funnel is really exciting. And Amazon seems to be opening up more and more advertising options for you to go after customers with. So I think that's really exciting to see. Hopefully we'll see the launch of DSP in a couple of months' time with Amazon, which will be really exciting for Europe.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. And we're really excited about that when it does come to the European market. And I completely agree. You have to take that full funnel approach, and brands that are doing it are seeing a lot of really good success on Amazon.
So yeah, that's really exciting. And I'd say that the third tip is more of a marketing thing, is really to reconnect with your brand and why you actually decide to go with advertising. It's kind of like be aware of how your brand is represented in order to really build up and maximize the impact of advertising. Oftentimes, I like to compare the thing with how often do marketers go in store to see how their product are on the shelf? Not often enough. And I think that in order to maximize advertising, I think your marketing mix and your e-merchandising needs to be on point in order to, first attract, convert, and obviously sell.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think really exciting for what is to come. You know, and I think just to summarize, there are definitely a lot of challenges that we're seeing in the European market. We went through a couple of them, and I think we go into a few more in our Amazon guide. But there's a lot of opportunity in the space, and there's so many tools out there that if you utilize the data correctly, you can, I think, achieve amazing results on Amazon.
For sure.
And there's I really encourage everyone to go and check out the Pacvue guide. Make sure that you check out Bizon Solutions to see the amazing work that they're doing with Amazon and across the advertising space. And really enjoyed chatting with you, Megan. I think we covered some really good topics. Anything else that you want to leave the viewers with?
Well, I would just like to thank you again for the invite, and really exciting about all the new features that Pacvue will come out with, depending on where Amazon leads us in 2023.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Megan. Really appreciate your time. Take care.
Love it. Have a good one. Bye.